I was coming home from work, eager to share the good news with my wife, Emily. My workplace had organized a family team building trip to a cabin in the mountains. All of my coworkers were invited along with their spouses, and I couldn't wait for Emily to hear about it. When I told her about it, she was as excited as I was, and we spent the evening planning and packing for the trip. Finally, the weekend came, and we packed our bags. We offered a ride to my coworker Jason and his wife Sarah. Sarah sat in the front with me because she was getting motion sickness in the back seat. Emily and Jason dozed off in the back seat, leaving Sarah and I to chat. She turned out to be fun and easygoing, and we talked the whole way. Before we knew it, we reached the cabin. As soon as we arrived, everyone settled into their seats, and the evening was spent drinking, laughing, and having fun. We played card games, shared stories, and eventually everyone headed to bed. Emily and I were among the last to leave the living room and soon headed to our room. It was cozy in the cabin, but I could already feel my anxiety taking over. After lying in bed for a while, I decided to get up and read. Not wanting to disturb Emily, I grabbed my backpack and headed into the living room. To my surprise, Sarah was already there, making herself a cup of tea. "Can't sleep either?" I asked. "No, I never can in a new place," she replied, smiling. I walked over to her to get a clean mug and involuntarily got too close. She looked up, and suddenly we were within a few centimeters of each other. The moment felt tense and awkward to me. I quickly grabbed the mug and stepped back, feeling awkward. She laughed softly and looked away. We stood in silence, and I couldn't help but notice how attractive Sarah looked. My thoughts wandered, and the silence between us became thick. I glanced at her, and she caught my gaze, and then looked away again, biting her lip. Finishing her tea, Sarah set the mug in the sink and turned to leave. Before I realized it, I reached out and grabbed her shoulder. She stumbled back slightly and pressed herself against me. She looked scared, but instead of pulling away, I pulled her tighter against me and kissed her. She hesitated, then leaned in and deepened the kiss. The tension between us finally found release. Eventually, we pulled away, both of us breathing heavily. Sarah looked up at me, her eyes full of emotion, and then she gave me a small, sad smile. She shook her head and turned away, heading back to her room. I watched her leave, a mixture of emotions bubbling up inside me: excitement, guilt, confusion. I sat there for a while, finally finishing my tea and heading back to the bedroom. Emily was still sound asleep. I crawled into bed, my mind spinning with thoughts of the night before. I knew that what had happened with Sarah was something I couldn't ignore, but for now, I pushed it to the back of my mind, trying to sleep. If you liked this story, please like and subscribe so you don't miss new stories.